It was almost 1 year to the day that the International Men's Peloton congregated in La Belle Province's capital for the first ever Pro Tour event in North America. More than 100,000 enthusiastic fans took to the beautiful old streets of Quebec City to acclaim the titans of the road. Feeding off the energy of the crowd, the protagonists of the event kicked up the pace, and the result was an epic battle with an unforeseen outcome. To the astonishment of all, and mainly to himself, Thomas Vauclair outsmarted a select group of riders and crossed the line first. For this second edition, a stronger peloton has assembled in hopes of winning this prestigious race. Philippe Gilbert has but one mission: to win and reclaim the World Tour overall lead. The Canadian-based team of cycling great Steve Bauer, Team SpiderTech powered by C10, is looking to deliver a historical first World Tour victory for Canada. And will Canadian rider Hesjedal make it onto the podium after a frustrating fourth place last year? We will soon find out, for this is the second edition of the Grand Prix Cycliste de Quebec. And as we can see on the screen right now, some of the top riders are also part of this lineup here, starting with Sanchez, Olympic champ.
Yeah, Sanchez, he had another good Tour de France, King of the Mountains, and a stage win. He was a player here last year. I think he'll be looking to kind of honor his Olympic title and win this race in Quebec. We also have Edvald Boasson-Hagen, obviously a second place here last year. I think he's looking to be the top step. And down lower, we have Robert Hesink from Rabobank. You know, he won the Montreal race, but he can climb this World Tour rankings quite highly with two good results here, first starting in Quebec.
So based on what you've just given us there, Gord, with the overall standings, let's hear what Philippe Gilbert had to say about that.
Yeah, I need 6 points to pass over Cat 11s. So till now I'm second, and my dream is to finish the season on the first place, and it will be very nice because last year I finished third on this classement, but you know, third it's not so nice because you always forget the thirds, but I think the first place will be very nice.
So here's the course for the Grand Prix Cycliste de Quebec 2011. It is 201.6 kilometers, 16 laps of 12.6 kilometers each. They will start on Grande Allée, move in to the Parc des Champs de Bataille. This is where during the race between kilometers 1 and 3, a lot of teams will proceed with mechanical fixes. They will also go into clothes changing if the weather gets a little bit wet or windy. And then they will make their way to the always very complicated Gilmore descent. After the descent of Gilmore, the riders will now proceed onto Boulevard Champlain. At this point, if the race ever gets windy or if it starts to rain, things can get very complicated for the peloton, as most teams around kilometer number 8 will try to place their best climbers in view of climb number 1 and hotspot number 1 of the day, Côte de la Montagne. Hotspot number 1, but the hotspot of this course. It is 13% of grade as they come up here. This is really where we'll see the main attacks happening. We saw Cunego, we saw Hesjedal, we saw Brechel last year trying here with the thunderous roar of the crowd. You can expect the Boasson-Hagens, the Gilberts, and company to try something here in the last few laps. This is hot spot number 2. One of the places on the course where the riders who weren't able to get away on la Côte de la Montagne or stay away will try it again. We come up here, la Côte de la Potasse. There is this almost 90-degree turn as we go up la Rue des Glacis, and at the top here is our king of the mountain. This is where many riders last year, including Brechel, Hesjedal, Cunego, and also Hesink, tried to make a move and tried to stay with the lead group, which finally made its way to the finish line. Third and last hot spot of the day. This is the final kilometer, la flamme rouge, as we say. Riders will be coming up here, la Rue Saint-Louis through la Porte Saint-Louis. It is a 4% false flat all the way to the finish line. We saw Vauclair many a times last year turning around, looking, trying to situate where the chase was happening and where they were at. However, this year with the field we have, we can expect to see a Gilbert, Boissenhagen, Ryder Hesjedal and company sprinting it out in these final meters of le Grand Prix Cycliste de Québec. And 37 minutes of racing already, and right from the onset we had the two riders breaking away that now after 8 laps have 3 minutes and 35 seconds. A lot of Sky out at the front here doing most of the work in front of the peloton, and they definitely are trying to do something here for Edvald Boissenhagen, probably their designated leader here today, Gordon.
That's right, Randy. Yeah, we have a break of 3 riders. They formed after the first lap. Hurel did very well to bridge across solo to the early 2, Salerno and Herrada. It's been really a battle of the KOM between those 2 riders, Herrada and Solano for the KOM so far, and Sky controlling the pack.
And you're talking about that rider that bridged up. He's right there on our screen from Europcar. It is Tony Hurel. A young rider, Gord, coming into this first World Tour season for him, basically, riding with Thomas Vauclair, who's not here today, but Pierre Rolland and local favorite David Veilleux from the Quebec City region.
Yeah, Europcar has really been swinging above their weight this year with Vauclair with an incredible Tour de France. Fortunately not here to defend his title this year, but we have Rolland, who did very well in the Tour. We saw shoulder to shoulder with Vauclair. He's obviously fairly motivated, and we got hometown boy David Veilleux. Very strong rider. Last year almost was in the front group when he was with the Canadian national team presented by Spider Tech. This year now moved across to Europcar, and he's getting his feet wet in the top level competition here.
Yeah, Rolland really putting on quite a show on that Alpe d'Huez stage this year at the Tour de France, putting it right there to big riders and top riders such as Sam Sanchez, who is with us here today in Quebec City, and Sanchez not able to keep the pace. Second rider, we see him right there, and we're very happy to have him this year. He was absent last year on injury and illness. That's Canadian Mike Barry for Team Sky, and those are the colors we've been seeing over the last few laps, Gordon.
Yeah, they had some help early on with Garmin. They were riding 2 riders, one from each team. Jeremy Hunt from Sky, Michael Crater from Garmin. We saw Christian Vandeville come up to the side of the peloton after a little while and said, you know, let Sky control. They're one of the favorite teams. So good lieutenant that Crater was. He backed off, and since then Sky have had complete control of the peloton. Michael Barry's been doing a little bit of work. Mostly it's been Hunt and Christian Nies, the German rider, former German champ last year here in the Milram colors, doing most of the pace making. So it's kind of a bittersweet for the Canadian fans. They're seeing their boy Michael Barry perform well, but in a team role, something he's familiar with throughout most of his career.
And another thing that we've been seeing a lot in this breakaway is Hurel really struggling. He's doing what we call the yo-yo in the biz. He's struggling in turns, struggling on some portions of the ascent, especially as we have Salerno here and Herrada, who have been fighting it out for the GP, which is the Grand Prix de la Montagne, or the King of the Mountains, as we say in English. And this, before we get back to that, Gord, this is an interesting part of the course. This is the Gilmore descent. It's a good day for this descent, if I may say so. Had this been a rainy, cold, slippery day, very hard, especially as they hit the 90-degree turn here at the bottom.
Yeah, they're hitting speeds of upwards of 75 k an hour, and this is a very hard left on Boulevard Champlain. If that was wet right there, we'd see some carnage, I think. But the riders negotiated quite safe. They're along the St. Lawrence River here, off to our right. A little bit of crosswind from the right. That could be a factor later on, and especially in the big battle for position to the base of the Côte de la Montagne later on in the race.
So as we were saying, right now, really competing for the Grand Prix of the Mountain, or the King of the Mountain, is Cristiano Salerno from Liquigas, number 117, and also Jesus Herrada Lopez from Movistar, as Hurel has been struggling on those very short climbs up the Rue des Glacis, which is the top of that. The junction of des Glacis and also Rue Saint-Jean is where the King of the Mountain points are allotted here today.
Yeah, that's right. It's at the second step of our 3-step climb up to the finish line. I think Hurel, he knows the writings on the wall for the KOM, so he's letting those 2 guys go at it.
Sort of a little bit of a cue of the course, as we saw there. We start at Grande Allée, Côte de la Montagne, which is the major difficulty of the day. Then this is where the top of that climb is. That's where we have the King of the Mountain. Then there's a slight dip up back onto Grande Allée, and we start again here in front of the thousands of people that have crowded this portion. It's a very narrow part of this road here on Grande Allée. It's where all the nightclubs and restaurants are, so a lot of people out here, like they were out last night for the sprint challenge. So a very European course, if I may say so. This is what happened over the first 2.5 hours of racing, and right from the gun we saw Will Routley, former Canadian champ, take the lead. However, Salerno and Herada Gord decided otherwise, and then the work done by Urel to bridge the gap.
Yeah, he did well. He come across on the descent on Gilmore, finally make it on here on Boulevard Champlain, and that'd be the break of the day. 3 riders. Unfortunately, not a lot of pressure on the peloton with only 3 riders to contain, but still a good race.
And the maximum they gained was about 6 minutes and 20 seconds approximately. As we saw there, the shot of the riders coming along the top, and the peloton in the bottom, we had our breakaway. This is for the King of the Mountain. This is right here where Desglacis joins Rue Saint-Jean, and they have been just pacing it, with Urel once again struggling in the climbs, but doing very good to catch up, and that's what he has done since almost the start of this breakaway on the end of lap number 1.
Yeah, you see Herada and Salerno battling it out right now. Herada has the lead, 13 points to 7 in the King of the Mountains, and that will be probably the top 2 in the King of the Mountains here today at Grand Prix Cycliste de Quebec.
Yeah, as they gain the points over the first portion of this beautiful race in Quebec City. Second edition of the Grand Prix Cycliste de Quebec. It was an amazing success last year, as we saw in those images as our show started today, of Thomas Vauclair. Sneaky Thomas, he is known in the peloton, coming out right at the last moment on La Côte de la Fabrique and just surprising everybody and himself, especially in the last kilometer. Things picking up here a little bit on the descent of Gilmore as the peloton. Very tricky here with this median in the center also, Gord.
Yeah, they have the option of going left or right to set up for this very hard left-hander. Full brakes on these guys, especially on these carbon wheels they're riding. I would like to smell the air at the bottom. There is a lot of brake rubber being put out, but again, we've seen Michael Berry very much in the foreground here with Team Sky. Jeremy Hunt, Christian Nees. They got things well in hand. They've been putting Phil Gilbert's smiling here. He's enjoying his day in Quebec so far. I wonder if he'll be smiling later on. Gaysink, another big favorite here today.
Yeah, Gaysink, a big favorite, winner in Montreal last year, the first edition of Le Grand Prix Cycliste de Montréal, and what an event that was. Looking forward to Sunday's race also. Gilbert smiling and playing here with our cameraman, looking very relaxed as he got off the plane. I was lucky enough to travel from Europe back to Canada with the World Tour members. Very relaxed. His parents are here, his sister is here, and there we have Robert Yesink. He is 19th right now on the World Tour standings. Had a beautiful Tour de Man, 2 stages, and was second at the Tirreno Adriatico. However, a very difficult year for Robert, losing his father last November in a terrible cycling accident. Had some issues with his health at the start of the season, and then that horrendous crash during the Tour de France, and very untimely crash for him.
Yeah, I think he's got good memories here in Canada, as we see Rojas setting up for a nature break. Hopefully there's nothing, no riders to his right.
They're spectators for that matter.
Spectators, yeah, but Rojas, that's another guy we haven't really talked much of.
Yes. Obviously
had an incredible Tour de France, battling it out for a green jersey with none other than Mark Cavendish. Kind of a dark horse. He's a sprinter with some good climbing ability.
We will be right back with the continuation of Le Grand Prix Cycliste de Québec on Sportsnet. Amazing shots here of Le Château Frontenac, where the athletes and the teams are staying for this second edition of the Grand Prix Cycliste de Québec. It is the official hotel, and what a view you have, not only from those rooms up there, Gord, but just from the Dufferin Terrace here, where the teams are set up in that white marquise at the lower right-hand side here of the Chateau. I think everybody appreciating staying in there for this edition.
That's a common theme with the riders, just how well treated they are by the organizers here with the incredible historic Chateau Frontenac. Great backdrop for these guys. They're really treated like superstars, and they really appreciate the effort put forth by Serge Arsenault and his group here in Quebec City. As we see tail end of the field, Danny Pate's been hanging out at the back in his usual role. Did a lot of work in the Tour this year for Cavendish, setting up the field sprints. So you know, no real clear-cut leader for HTC here, so maybe he'll take his chance. He's a punchy rider. We got TJ Van Garderen actually from HTC, who's kind of a dark horse as well. Came off a really good tour of Colorado, US Pro Cycling Challenge, as they said. And top 3 or 4 overall, had the jersey for a day. As we see back to the KOM here, as Hurel is leading out, but I'm sure the other 2 will pass him here near the top.
Yes, the Grand Prix de la Montagne, as we can see, that GPM, translating literally into English here in Canada as a KOM, is right there. You have the acceleration, as Gord predicted. There's number 144 from Movistar team, as Jesus Herrera Lopez. So he'll take a few more points. The main goal for these guys, Gord, right now is just to pick up those points and be on the podium, get some team recognition there, as they'll be awarded first, second, and third in this competition. Well, you know, the early break is always a question of odds, you know, and they were given very, very short leash. It was only a 6-minute gap when Garmin and Sky first started to chase. Obviously, Garmin opted out of the chase after a little bit, but normally 3 riders in a race this hard and this long, they would be given a lot more rope. So unfortunately, I'm sure these 3 guys know that the chances of success are very slim, so they're going to do everything they can to get something out of this break, besides the exposure that they're giving their sponsors here in a worldwide feed. And you know, the KOM, they'll go up on the podium, kiss the girls, and that's a good day's work for some of these young riders here. Herrera especially has looked really good. Kind of a time trialist pedigree with Espoir and junior titles in Spain, and I believe a recent win in the time trial at Burgos, which is a big race in Spain. So you know, he's showing his colors here. He's really announcing to the world that he's going to be a player here in the future, as we again see Sky and Michael Berry on the front controlling this race. And now we see them, Gord, from the helicopter, them being the peloton, as they come along a very tricky portion of the course, which is that Rue des Remparts de la Canotière, back up over a very tricky portion that you've driven as a directeur sportif in the car, during the Tour de Beauce and other events like Canadian Nationals. Tell us a bit about that portion as they come over. It's like a 5-way intersection. However, there's a little mound there that can sometimes throw some riders off. Yeah, it's like I said, this climb is kind of divided into 3, and it's got a couple little descents. And that particular part right before Glacis, I was almost on 2 wheels in the car when I drove it in Beauce, excuse me. And it gives an opportunity for riders, an opportunity to launch an attack. You know, it's not a sustained climb to the finish. There's a couple little breaks, and we saw last year a perfectly timed attack by Vauclair to catch everyone kind of catching their breath, flat-footed after a steep little part, and he used that little flat part to get his gap, and that's what helped him win the race. Obviously, an incredible move. Hopefully, we see something similar this year in the Quebec race. We see the commissaires there looking at the athletes, or maybe one of our medical cars. Some of the riders needing help. We are already halfway through this race, so sometimes sores start to appear, sometimes muscle pains. And this is exactly taken from the top of the King of the Mountain position on Des Glacis and Saint-Jean, as we see the peloton. The same colors there. The new factor, I would say, is the yellow and turquoise of Astana right now starting to move to the front, and also the orange and blue of Rabobank. Yeah, they're just keeping an eye on watching Sky control this race, seeing just how many guys are rotating, how hard they're going to feather this gap. I mean, we've been whittling it down now, a couple seconds at a time, and they got the race truly in hand. Jussi Vaikkonen with the Finnish bands on his shoulders. There you go, Jussi Vaikkonen. So Radio Shack and now Lega Farmaloto making their appearance here at the front of our pack. We'll be right back on the other side of this commercial break. That we have this shot, Gord, because this will show people, I hope we can stay with it, unfortunately we won't, how narrow that becomes and how windy and twisty. And once again, a lot of action happened there, and you can really get caught back there, boxed in, and not be able to follow a breakaway, or at least a stab at a breakaway on La Côte de la Potasse and Rue des Glacis. What you might see there is it's the steepest part at the bottom of the Côte de la Montagne. It's about 13–14%, but after they get over the top, you know, a gap might look manageable when you're going that slow on that steep a pitch. And it might only be 4 or 5
4 or 5 bike lengths in front, but as they hit that descent, all of a sudden that translates to about 20 or 30 bike lengths on the descent part. So, you know, you think you're there, and you hit the descent, and all of a sudden you're not there anymore.
What do we have here? Rabobank, exactly as we were explaining, Gord, these guys know that they're at that 90-degree turn. There it is, and they're putting their best elements right there in the front, and Rabobank is starting to provoke something here. Edvald Boissenhagen back there for Sky, but they may be in a spot of trouble here as we have Rabobank, and is that Resink is sitting on third wheel, fourth wheel now.
This could be a tactic here by Rabobank. This is full gas by the team member for Resink, fourth wheel. Could this be a springboard to the first serious attack? Yes, I think it is.
We may have the making here of a winning break as we have Rabobank, we have Sky, we have BMC, and also it looks like John Gadret maybe for AG2R La Mondiale. We'll see, but there is a lot of counter-attacking going on, and oh, look at this. We have a move by Rabobank. Is he going to sit up? No, he can't be doing that.
Well, he's seen who he's drawing out here, Resink. Obviously, he's feeling good. This is very early in the race, but this is what they need. This is what the other teams need to beat a guy like Gilbert. They can't give him an armchair ride at the finish. They have to race aggressive.
Well, you saw it there. He said, come on, guys, let's go. We need to compose something here. We need to build momentum, and we have a chance. But unfortunately, I don't think anybody took the invitation to the dance there, Gord.
This is great. This is what we need to have a real strong race here, as these three riders still with Harada winning the KOM, continuing to build in his lead. I think if they continue to race that hard in behind them, the break might be up here on this next lap.
Oh yeah, we were coming close to 2 minutes and 30 seconds as our last time gap we got from the official
points
timers. Yep, double points here exactly as we move into our latter laps. The points will double. So 23 for Herada, Salerno has 12, and 2 for Urel, unfortunately not being able to follow. So here we go, a two-man break, no reaction right now, and let's go back. And there we have it. He will turn around here. It looks like it is Resink, eh?
Yeah.
And he's, come on. Probably not just talking to his teammate, but talking to anybody who is willing to follow there. And the peloton, they took too much time to react here, Gord. That was a very, very poor move strategically on Rabobank's part.
Well, we'll see. I mean, obviously he's feeling pretty good to light such a big match so early in the race. Obviously he's got some good legs. Really, I'm sure he was hoping to draw out a few more of the favorites, but he's got the right tactic, I think, the right impetus to get this race a little bit stronger.
And there's the damage at the back of the group. That is number 81, Alfredo Balloni, who earlier on, as we started the race, almost from the gun, followed Rotley out there. Now he is off the back.
And back to the turn at the Shadow Frontenac. The 3 survivors of the break still going.
Oh, again.
This is Wiening. This is another Rabobank. So there's a 1-2 punch here now. We had Resink first of all. Now this is Peter Wiening, the Giro d'Italia stage winner in the pink jersey. As race leader as number 7 here. It gets spat out the back for Lotto.
Sven Val-Duceler. And he is struggling now for Omega, and we see the damage, and this is what it is. It can become a race of attrition in Quebec City. If you're not able to follow the pace and you don't have the legs today, this could cost you a lot of money on the last few laps.
I think it just goes to show just the tempo was that hard that Sky were doing. It wasn't really telling on TV, but man, the first attack of the race, Sky's legs are already full, lactic, and getting blown out the back. So it was deceiving, that tempo that Sky did. I mean, it looked easy on TV, but I assure you, these guys are feeling the pinch now.
Oh yes. Well, Gord, unfortunately, we have to go to a commercial, and bad timing here because this break this peloton, I should say, has started to break up under tremendous pressure put on by a few riders here, and what a story, and we have a race, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, we have some offensive racing by Rabobank, and it's kind of the dust has kind of settled, and Tendam has now found himself in this little split. Stetna from Garmin's in there. We have Filleux from Leopard Trek. The gap is now down to 1:15, so that bit of aggression really took a big chunk out of the breakaway.
Yes, and this happened as they were on that false flat, making their way back to the start-finish line.
Got a Movistar guy playing defense for his rider up front, so he probably won't cooperate in this little group. Again, we see the riders stretched out single file here in the Plains of Abraham. This is the first time we've seen this formation under this much pressure in the park.
But still no reason to panic. 5 laps to go, or just under 5 laps to go. And not a very menacing break off the front. They have now about 1 minute and 15 seconds was the last time count we had.
The aggressive nature of this last lap is really good for anybody who wants to upset Gilbert. I think they need to complicate the matters for Omega Pharma as Tendam continues to push the pace in this group. A little bit of uncooperation there with the Movistar guy, obviously not, and a Liquigas rider. So 2 guys with riders up front, not willing to aid in the chase. Tendam flicks his elbow.
To a rider
the
from
quick step.
Yeah.
Stetina welds the rest of the break back together. Tim Duggan here of Liquigas, the American rider, playing defense for his rider up front. Tendam is paying for his earlier effort. Probably get back here as the breakaway comes back together.
And we should have the official composition as we see. Oh, there, riders already trying to bridge up here. 1, 2, 3. We're looking at ourselves now at the front of the peloton, so we may have an Omega. Omega had to do it. They had to make the move. They needed a rider up there to kind of act as scout for Gilbert on these last laps. Once again, the peloton closing in.
Well, they had 2 options. They have either spring a guy across bridging or just weld it back together and shut it down, and they've opted for the first part there. So good job by Omega Pharma. They were caught out a little bit, but they're recuperating and getting the race back under control for their leader, Gilbert.
So once again, the course playing into this race here, we're choosing very specific points of the race. Is now Movistar. This is a rider from, or is it Vacances Soleil?
It looks like Mall.
Yeah, it looks like Mall from Vacances Soleil.
Quick step, quick to react.
Yep. Rider from Quick Step here. So interesting to see that on, I was going to say on the previous portion of the course where we expect them to attack and all that, it's happening. But now we're on a very easy portion of the course when it comes to surveillance, when it comes to bridging up. It's flat and we're just prior to the descent.
Yeah, it's not so obvious in here in the park, but it could be a good place when the peloton kind of lets its guard down as we see the gap is really plummeting now. Only 50 seconds for original 3 as the quick step rider continues to kind of relancer the l'échappée.
Is that Tendam?
Tendam's coming back across, so we might have 3 guys, and we see Leopard Trek again, and Garmin in behind trying to react.
A rider from AG2R La Mondiale. Would it be maybe Perrault, Hinault?
Could be.
Jean-Christophe Perrault.
We'll see in a minute.
Yep, 10th of the Tour this year.
Back on the Grand Allée, on the way to Côte Gilmore, the descent as a Cofidis rider. 202 is in a little bit of trouble. Buffat.
Doesn't have to panic all that much, however, because he knows that everybody's is going to be going down in a few seconds.
Swain Tuff making an appearance back there at the red shoulders of Canadian champ, Canadian road champ, multi-time Canadian time trial champ. The first time he's worn the maple leaf as road champ, and obviously he's shown his colors really well with the big win in Europe a couple weeks ago. So, you know, last year we saw Tuff doing pretty much the only teamwork in the finale last year, trying to bring Vauclair back for Hesjedal. This year, obviously, the captain of Spider Tech, presented by C10, in a captain role. Hopefully, he'll be on a good day and can show himself well. This is actually a course that might suit him.
Definitely, and unfortunately for Spider Tech, he is making the move to that very powerful Green Edge team next year. However, I think in a career plan, it's a very smart move for the Canadian Swain Tuff. And they had an amazing run at it during the Canadian Road Championships in Burlington, which I was lucky enough to be the MC for, as him, Zach Bell, and Will Routley, his 2 teammates, made it 1, 2, 3 on the podium. And Swain once again picking up his first ever red and white road cycling champions jersey, and I think over the last 10 years he's been on the individual time trial podium. Selvaggi, Mirko Selvaggi, a rider we saw very present at the in the early stages of last year's race in Montreal, taking his stab, a kick at the can here. And some riders from Astana now.
Yeah, Selvaggi was on Astana last year, so we'll see if he can make a new breakaway and bridge up to the 3 leaders. Again, that very high-speed left turn onto Boulevard Champlain. Peloton in single file. Great action. 35 seconds now. Again, plummeting this time gap back to the breakaway.
As we have the riders moving along Boulevard Champlain, we are going to take a short break and be right back with the Grand Prix Cycliste de Quebec.
And even this year, finished quite strong as the gap again is plummeting down to 29 seconds.
And the boys from Europcar here, working either for different leaders, we could say, because we have David Veilleux, who has good legs. He was saying that his form was right on par during our press conferences earlier this week. And also, well, the white jersey from the Tour de France and winner on Lap d'Huez, Monsieur Pierre Rolland. However, I would pick Rolland more as a Grand Prix de Montréal winner this year.
You'd think on paper, I mean, he was climbing with all the best in the Tour de France, and the length of the climb of Camille Yaoud on Mount Royal certainly would favor a rider like Rolland, more so than the punchy, over-threshold type of efforts required for these 3 pitches up to the Grand Olay finish line here.
Definitely more a Ardennaise classic type rider, as in Gilbert and company. We'll see as we are getting very close. Less than 55 kilometers to go as we see the ferry there loading up with cars. Ferry that will cross the St. Lawrence River over to Lévis on the south shore. And the old part to our left there, that is really where the first pioneers came and established themselves in Port-Royal, the old part of Quebec City. Main peloton now coming down, and these guys are still fighting it out here for these points, but they are going very early here, and oh boy, Hurel can say goodbye to his two teammates, two breakmates here, because he is not in this anymore, Gord.
I think what's going on there is they've heard that the aggression in the pack. They want to get a little bit more gap and get further up the climb, so if some of the favorites come across, they have less climb to stay with them, and gives them another chance to do another lap in front. So poor Hurel, he did a great bridge across to represent Europcar in the breakaway, but he's paying for his efforts as Herrada and Solano continue on their journey here in Quebec City.
Wow,
there's the pitch. It's at 13% there.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, Gord. They've really put the motor on here. They've almost disappeared from our camera shot.
Here's the quick descent down towards the second part of our climb.
Herrada has taken off now. He has left Salerno in his wake.
He might get back on this very quick descent, but looks like it's up for him as well as the Movistar rider coming up to the King of the Mountain points. Obviously, he's going to be at the podium later today.
Where is he? Wow, he has really picked up some serious time here, as even the motorbike camera has difficulty coming back out of him. Could he be thinking at this point, I'm going for it?
Could be, but I think again he's looking more for making selection and having the favorites come to him instead of having to follow. So you know, we saw his resume as a time trialist of very high quality,
exactly, yeah.
And he's showing it right now as again Rabobank back in the field, putting on the jets, stirring up the action here as Garmin is very well organized in the back here. Not panicking, they're keeping their formation tight. There's 5 riders from Garmin in behind, obviously looking after Hejjedal. It's not, maybe he learned his lesson last year. He went with 2 climbs to go in the race, and he launched that big attack. And obviously, riders feeling good having his charges at the front here with Zabriskie and Stetna.
There is a selection, however, happening, Gord. If we take a look at when we go back to these are probably riders off the back now.
That's surprising. Yeah. That's Van Gardner.
Yeah, TJ Van Gardner not having the best day. The rider from Tacoma, Washington, struggling here. Maybe not en jambe, as they say, not feeling it. And once again, a very difficult course here. There we have Herrada Lopez looking over his shoulder. But I was saying prior to this, we have a selection happening. We have the Garmin boys. We have some riders from Rabobank. But we also had Gilbert tucked nicely right behind the Garmin guys. Probably not having the firepower he would have on an Ardennaise Classic here in Quebec City, Montreal, but still working through the other team's efforts.
Being very vigilant, seeing what's happening up front, not being caught out as Herrada doing a great ride here today.
Wow, this is impressive. So there they are, the riders for Garmin.
And on the left.
Yeah. And we have AG2R La Mondiale still doing very good, probably working for Gadret today, or somebody like Jean-Christophe Perrault, former mountain biker. We saw him many times in Quebec riding at the World Championships and also World Cups at Mont-Saint-Anne that we can almost see in the background over there as a mountain biker. Gilbert right up front there.
Matt Wilson, second wheel behind Stetna. Great work here by Garmin Cervelo. They got a lot of weapons. They got Van de Velde, they got Hejjedal, they got Tom Danielson. Now there's Flecka goes out the back. He's paying for his earlier tempo. He did a lot of tempo with Michael Barry. Christian Nees, Jeremy Hunt, so Sky, you know, they put their confidence in Boston Hagen and Gerrans.
Martin Gilbert, the sprinter there for Spider Tech, and definitely not his type of course or board.
Here comes Zabriskie up on the left. Gonna give a little break to Stetna. One of the very best time trialists in the world of cycling, Dave Zabriskie. He's won Grand Tour stages in all 3 in the time trial. Here's a surprise. Alessandro Ballan, former world champ, looks like his day has come to an end.
He was right in the mix this year. He's right off the back with Juan Antonio Flecha.
Again, we saw him eating a lot of wind, like I said, along the river for George Hincapie. So, I mean, that just goes to show how precarious this sport is. You do one effort, too many, and it's lights out. So great job by Ballan. You know, obviously identifying it's not his day, and identifying it early enough where he could be productive for his team in George Hincapie and BMC.
Well, it's a single file, Gord, which indicates that there is an up in tempo right now, and that tempo is being really driven by Garmin Cervelo. Now, there is no doubt about it. They have a lot of firepower here in the American. Danielson, also definitely with Ryder Hesjedal, the Canadian, right up there for Garmin Cervelo. So it'll be interesting to see what they can pull out. And also, they may pull the card of Christian Van de Velde, who was, you know, top 5 in the Tour a couple of years ago.
Salerno finally gets his sights on the peloton, who he hasn't seen for about 3.5 hours, but great job by him representing Lucagas. Look at that wind with that fleur-de-lis flag straight out.
Yeah, provincial flag of the province of Quebec. Telling the story here, and this is really where you feel it, Gord, because it starts to climb, and through that door there, that wind will really affect any sprint. And we remember Vauclair, and you can see the leaves coming across the road there, and Vauclair mentioned it last year, and that's why he kept looking back, because he could not believe that he was fending off the attacks and also the Clydesdale work of Swain Tuff for Ryder Hesjedal. But that wind came and played a factor, I think, on that group that was just, you know, totally popped.
Quite a stiff head, crosshead. You see the yellow flag of the pedestrian crossing, so it's coming from the rider's right-hand shoulder here. So they'll be able to pin the back of the peloton across to the right. But that's something that the riders will pay attention to in the final sprint. If you go too far to the right, you're gonna offer a little bit of shelter in the crosswind. So definitely when riders make their launch to the line, they're going to be on the very left-hand side of the road, or right-hand side as we look in the screen here.
Well, I think his days, I should say minutes, or seconds are numbered now. Jesus Herrera Lopez is going to be picked up by this fast approaching peloton. Still the crowd giving him a huge welcome here, as they know this will be the last time they see him go around in the lead. So you saw it there, 39.97 is our average after 3 hours and 52 minutes of racing. Garmin Cervelo setting things up. François Parisien, the rider for Spider Tech, still up there. François is part of that original break last year, 2005 Canadian champ. He could be a sneaky Vauclair number here today. He's done it in the past, and imagine what that would be, a first ever World Tour win on Canadian soil for Team Spider Tech.
Great job. Great job by Parisien. You know, he wasted a lot of energy in that breakaway, but it was a very productive thing for him, you know, getting some air time. Obviously this year he's looking more ambitious for his own result, tucked right in behind that Garmin Cervelo chase as the rider screams to his soigneur to get the bottle out to him. You see a gel actually attached to the bottle. That's a nice trick that the soigneurs play. They attach the gel to the lid of the bottle, so not only they get something to drink, but something to eat as well.
Now there he is once again, the original break member, Jesus Herrera Lopez for Movistar. And they make their way onto the Parc des Champs de Bataille.
You saw the rider didn't want the gel, actually, so you know, his time is up. But what a great day for Herrera in this breakaway. Surely back in Europe, a lot of people watching this race, and got some good face time.
Yeah, he is now going to reintegrate the peloton after a beautiful breakaway, and we will be right back on the other side of this commercial break at the Grand Prix Cycliste de Quebec.
His dad and his uncle both were very top riders in the 70s and 80s.
And you're talking about those riders for the new team, which will be called Radio Shack Nissan Trek, is what we've heard. Talk about the staff, the soigneurs and company. They'll be looking for jobs. Rabobank now, once again, trying to provoke things. They have a very strong team here. Classic riders. And how about Yesink? Could do some damage here, and he did it in Montreal, and he was on the podium here in Quebec City. Everybody penning him as probably one of the favorite. And look at this. This is just what happens after, once again, 13 laps of this continuous climbing. Riders are just into the lactic zones right now.
Yeah, and you're looking at riders that haven't really pronounced themselves at the front of the peloton. I'm sure they've done work for their team, but Van de Velde here now, that's a good sign now for Garmin Cervelo. There's a 1-2 punch on this team. Van de Velde and Ryder Hegedal. Christian setting out on this crazy little descent here, going towards the Glacis.
Yeah, Côte de la Potasse, then that sharp left-hand turn onto Rue des Glacis. It is a three-pronged climb because we first have Côte de la Montagne, a slight descent along here where we are on the Côte de la Potasse, just at the foot of Côte de la Potasse. Then after that, there's Rue des Glacis that kicks up again. So this is very hard. It looks very simple and very easy here, but it is a succession of three very short but steep climbs, really like the Northern Classics in Europe in the spring. Christian Van de Velde, top 5 at the Tour a couple of years ago, and very good to see him back on form, Gord. He had a terrible year last year, and making his way back. Now we have a Radio Shack rider. Who would that be? I mean, is it Leipheimer maybe? No, eh?
I'm not sure, but I think Garmin have the right tactics here. They're attacking now, coming up to 3 laps to go. They need to make this race hard. They need to isolate Gilbert. They need to get in front of Gilbert. They can't just provide him an armchair ride at the finish. They have to make it hard and take a chance. Great job by Van de Velde.
Hard to say from here who that Radio Shack rider is, and he's got another rider with
Movistar,
him.
Looks like.
It looks like Movistar, Vacances Soleil, very similar cause. And then there's an attack there out of the peloton. Looks like a quick step rider.
This looks like a Dagnan, the Irish rider from Radio Shack. He was up at Colorado as well. So Van de Velde sees that he needs help. He can't do it by himself. He's very wisely looked over his shoulder, assessed the situation, and he's going to let these guys come up to him.
So is this Dries Devenens, a Belgian rider for a quick step, a specialist in the classics, or would this be maybe Jérôme Pinot, the French rider in this group? And who do we have? Oh, hard to say from here, Gord, but this is very interesting. So, quick step rider, and we go Movistar. And off the back now are poor riders, some of the riders from the earlier breaks, and also there Christian Corren from L'Equigas, number 52 there for our friends over at Leopard Trek, Stéphane Denifil.
We got some Movistar guys off the back and Movistar guys off the front. So the Spanish team's having quite a day. Euskaltel riders, some more Spanish riders in trouble here. Again, a reflection of this pace. Again, Van de Velde's in the break. Quick step rider, Movistar rider. Got looks like Danian. I'm pretty sure that's Danian as a Lucagas rider now bridging the gap. This is great stuff.
Yeah, this is where it's happening. And we saw some riders from Euskaltel struggling. Arstaloza, Minguez involved in a training crash earlier this week, probably feeling the pain. Our Radio Shack rider now motoring off the front. I wish we could get a better view of.
Could be Danian.
Daniel, yeah, probably. Movistar calling for some assistance here.
Excellent action here as we see Trentin of Quick Step taking the King of the Mountains points. Pasamontes is the Movistar rider, gesturing for some support from his teammates, maybe. I'm not sure, but Van de Velde, really the telling rider in this attack with some great tempo done by Garmin Cervelo. Obviously, some cause, you know, they were setting something up. Wasn't sure if it was going to be Hegedal. I'm glad it's not. I'm glad it's his right-hand man today, and Christian Van de Velde. This is good racing, hard racing, as we see a big gap now. Some riders trying to bridge the gap.
Yeah, so we also have in there Van de Velde. We have for a quick step, it is finally the Italian rider Matteo Trentin. And the group keeping pace as they make their way back to the start-finish line, and they will soon find out. And we are in the last few laps of this Grand Prix Cycliste de Quebec. 38.6 kilometers to go. Part of the town up on the top, a lower part where these riders are right now on the bottom.
Again, Rolston wants this break to succeed. He comes to the front right away, wants a relief, but Swain just came off a pole. So again, this breakaway, they gotta get organized and cooperate, and they're not doing it yet. The Movistar, Quick Step, Spider Tech. Radio Shack, all up in there. A lot of good teams, but a few teams missing it out. Surprisingly, at this point, AG2R is doing the chase. You think someone like Garmin or Radio Shack might do it, or Radio Shack have a guy in the break, but Sky maybe. But surprising that the smaller team, maybe not a favorite team, is AG2R. They're doing the chases. Again, Movistar have 2 riders in this breakaway. You think one of them would give a little bit of hand, as finally one of them does come up and gives Danian a bit of a relief, as it looks like Costa again showing his Tour de France legs.
This could be where this race unfolds.
Absolutely. We got Lukemans, we have Gilbert, Haysink, all at the front of this this pack. Is very aggressive. Good job by Vacansoleil to shut the move down of Swain Tuft. Unfortunately for the Canadian fans, but some serious players now. Philippe Gilbert, the #1 favorite, neutralizing all the big players here. Haysink looking to be gapped off a little bit. He better get on that wheel as Gilbert, otherwise it would be a tough bridge up. But Vacansoleil, it looked like Hoogerland was the rider, in fact, to spring Lukemans in the breakaway. So this is great stuff, great action by the Dutch and Belgian riders here.
Well, Gilbert looks to be pulling another number, Gord, in a classic here. We remember what happened in a Geelong last year at the World Championships. He may have gone a bit early. That last climb was far from the finish line, kind of like today. We got to remind everybody, these last climbs are pretty far from the finish line. Maybe not as far as Montreal, but you really got to time those attacks at the right moment. You got to look for opportunities. Gilbert doing so right now, and he looks actually almost scary comfortable here. Scary comfortable looks Gilbert. Look at that. He's focused, he's up, he's clean. The top of the body's not swinging too much. The legs are doing most of the work. This, I think, Gord, is the selection.
Well, we got, where's Hejidal? Where's Garmin? Where's Radio Shack and Levi? I mean, they got to react. There's Bollet going out the back, one of the pre-race favorites. So, man, they got to react now very quickly to shut down this move. Serious move with Lukemans, Haysink, Hoogerland, Gilbert, and a few other riders. One looks like one Leopard Trek, one Astana, one Quickstep. Might be Trentin still, if you can imagine. Incredible stuff.
That would just be amazing. Gilbert looking over his shoulder, trying to see if maybe he has a teammate. Or where are Van de Velde? Where are Ryder Hesjedal? Where are the rest of this select group that's supposed to be up here? However, I'm sure he'll be very happy to see the scenario right now. He does not have much competition, except for maybe the rider from Rabobank there, Haysink.
Well, he's very astute and very patient and looking back and helping riders. There's Bossenhagen now, one of the other favorites. Doesn't look like it's his day, or Duque for that matter. So they're eliminating these sprinters one by one.
Wow, Bossenhagen, who was right up there last year in Quebec City and in Montreal, is out of this one.
Tandam as well, Rabobank rider. He showed himself a little earlier. He's got his team leader in the breakaway, so he's covered in that respect. So Rabobank doing well, but Vacansoleil here, it's got 2 riders in this move. Look like Hoogerland and Lukemans, but further back we see, and looks like Levi coming back for Radio Shack. Hopefully riders in that move as well.
I think he is, Gord. I saw his natural form and also that smooth pedaling stroke that he has and his big size. I think Ryder Hesjedal is making his way back in a select group with Levi Leipheimer, but Gilbert looking absolutely phenomenal today. There he is, Gilbert. Also with another Belgian with Vacansoleil's Lukemans, Robert Haysink for Rabobank, and they collected some points there for the Grand Prix de la Montagne, the King of the Mountain. They don't care for that right now. They want those 3 top spots on the podium. And these guys better not sleep too much, because Gilbert is putting on an acceleration here. Very steady, oh so calm, but he is accelerating.
Yeah, it's just one of the favorites here, Gilbert. Looks like Hincapie out the back. That's too bad for the American fans, but George is still in contention. It might be about a minute behind. We'll see how much hesitation there is at the top of this climb, but Gilbert, you know, he's gotten this far without a team. Looks like Levi's really suffering to bring back this move. I still don't see Hesjedal at all. Looks like Uran, Leopard Trek, another Rabobank rider. Again, Garmin still playing defense way back there. Looks like Van de Velde pacing up Hesjedal. They better not hesitate anymore. They could be over for Ryder if they don't get there now. As Levi makes a big effort to make the junction.
As we saw there, it was not Ryder Hesjedal, it was Rigoberto Urán with the white shoes. However, Ryder in that group, and these guys are just putting it on. They are really piling it on, and one who is Philippe Gilbert. Not only is he a favorite to win this race, he is a crowd favorite, and his parents are here with his sister. 1 lap to go, wearing number 1, and hopefully that will be the result for the Belgian here today. Is Philippe Gilbert, and this group struggling behind him, Gord, to keep pace. And oh, there we go. We have Ryder Hesjedal bringing a few riders up. Still a lot of indecision behind there.
It's desperation time now for the Canadian Ryder Hesjedal of Garmin. He knows he has to bridge this gap. He doesn't have any more teammates. Looks like Christian Van de Velde is done, but he's got to get some help here. But there's so many teams represented in that breakaway. Is he going to get the help? Everyone knows he's desperate to win this race. So unfortunately, he didn't have the legs to follow this move. But he needs to limit his losses here and shut this breakdown. Is Gilbert now solo from the breakaway? This could be actually a blessing in disguise for Hesjedal.
Gilbert, Gord, is doing exactly what everyone hoped he would do, was put some pressure on at the end of the race. But what's surprising me right now is that we have some fresh legs up there. They are not able to follow his pace, and he's looking, as I said, it's scary. He looks so comfortable.
He's obviously confident if he's leaving his breakaway companions behind, going solo here. This is very risky by Gilbert, but if anybody can pull it off, Gilbert can. Incredible power, number 1, justifiably so. Belgian champ, won everything to win this year that he set his sights on. I'm sure he's setting his sights on that world number 1 ranking and the win here today.
And there he is, motoring off the front. Philippe Gilbert with a small group behind him. We'll be back after the commercial break as the Grand Prix Cycliste de Quebec is unfolding right before our eyes. He has made a decisive move, Philippe Gilbert. However, things are starting to look a bit more organized in the chase, which is 15 seconds behind. The peloton now, about 35 seconds behind Gilbert, but now it looks like they've brought it down by about 5 seconds, the chase already, Gord. There he is, Philippe Gilbert, and this is where we're going to see the real Philippe Gilbert. If he's on course for a win today, as he comes down onto Boulevard Champlain, he will have to really dig deep into that wind coming off the St. Lawrence River.
Well, he's pretty deadly, Gilbert, when it comes to winning races, but we have seen him make a mistake in the past. Last year at the World Championships, made a solo bid to win the rainbow jersey and wasn't counting on the win being as tough as it was, and he came up short. So, you know, does that come into play here in Quebec? There's still a long way to go, 10K, and looks like he's sitting up. Wow.
Oh boy.
Incredible confidence. I mean, the guy's solo, and he's looking like he's said, well, this wind is too much, I'm going to sit up. I know I'm still one of the strongest guys, but whether or not this break has a gap over the pack is another question that needs to be answered. But Gilbert, calm under pressure, huh, Randy? I mean, sitting up in a race situation like that.
Yeah, and he was telling the motorcycle, come on, move off. I'm waiting for these guys, give him some space. However, Gord, and you're the best person to answer this question because you've been in this situation before. Gilbert tested his legs on those climbs. He's tested his opponents. That means, as you said, his level of confidence is good. He knows that, guys, we got 3 more little climbs to do. I got it in me. Let's work together and may the best man win.
Well, I think he also signals that he's the best guy. So, I mean, why would you work with a guy like that? Why would you drag Gilbert now to the line? I wouldn't pull with him. He just dusted me in the end. So he's kind of played a bit of poker. He's shown his hand. And whether or not these guys have anything to counter with, well, it remains to be seen. But obviously, Gilbert, I've never seen such cool, icy water in the veins as he just sat up with a 10-second gap with 10K to go. I mean, incredible.
Well, he's going to be keeping his powder dry to the finish line, that's for sure, because he is sitting nice and comfortable there. And Levi Leipheimer right behind him, number 101 with the red, white, and black of Radio Shack and Nissan, Gilbert. Then we have the leader for Liquigas, Ponzi, in the green and white. Up there for Garmin Cervelo. Who did we have, Gord, up there for Garmin? last time around.
There's no Garmin.
No, sorry, that's Sky. That's Rigoberto Urán. My apologies.
Ciolek, you know, a good sprinter. He's got some interest to kind of keep this thing going, but somebody's got to attack here. Somebody's got to attack in the lull on Boulevard Champlain. They got to get a head start on the climb.
And right here, it just shows what's happening within the main group. Few riders off the front, 37 seconds. So they've kept it at about a 35 to 37 second gap with the riders off front. And now we have Christian Van der Velde digging deep, gritting those teeth. Is that Morkov for Saxo Bank, the winner of the sprint challenge yesterday? Yep, looks like him.
Rojas was back there, but I think it's too late. I think looking like the winner's going to come out of this break, but these guys, I mean, they got to attack Gilbert, I would imagine. I mean, he's just so much superior on the climb than these guys. And Simon Clark lightening the load, taking care of getting rid of some of that weight, some of the food that he won't eat. He should probably fuel up a little bit, but excess stuff in his pockets he's getting rid of. As again, a little fracture in the breakaways. Gilbert, no problem. I'm going to tow you guys. Why not? I got enough juice in the legs to help pull you guys and still drop you.
But how disconcerting that must be for other riders to know that he still has this form with 7 kilometers, a little bit less than 7 kilometers to go.
Incredible stuff.
In the center, Levi Leipheimer. To the left, Philippe Gilbert, Fabian Wegmann in that group also. Simon Clark off the back. Rigoberto Urán, number 18. Ponzi 111, 174. Jon Loopmans. Clark right there in the blue. And right there, Gerard Ciolek. Here goes Yessink. He is putting on the pressure now. Robert Yessink looking for another win on Canadian soil. Gilbert trying to stay with them. And look at Ciolek Gogord, the sprinter, doing amazing here today, looking very comfortable.
A sprinter gets a sniff of the finish line. It's amazing what he can do, and he's turning himself inside out to stay with these more favorite climbers. Haysink, he's not going to work, I don't think. Ciolek, he's just trying to stay with the wheels. There's no reason for him to work. He doesn't want to open himself up to another attack by, guess who? Who's behind him? Ever-present Gilbert.
There we go, and no panicking in Gilbert's attitude. He just sat there with Ciolek. Yessink looking back, going, how can we shake this guy? How do we get rid of that red, gold, and black? And Yessink once again looking for some help. It's not the first time we've seen Yessink react like that after a climb.
Oh, Simon Clark just clawing his way back. He got to get on the wheel and get some recovery before the Glacis climb, the second ramp of the three-step climb here to the finish.
Ciolek, Yessink, Gilbert, Wegmann, Rigoberto Urán looking to be hanging on there.
Loopmans as well is bringing it back, so good job by Vacansoleil. They have 2 riders here. If they can work together and 1-2 the break here, they might have a chance and cause a hesitation, but we'll see. The second Vacansoleil rider doesn't look like he's in any condition to attack. Levi still in there. And Simon Clark scratched back his way back as we go to the second ramp here. Simon Clark, another good sprinter. If he can just hold on, he might have something to say to Mr. Gilbert at the finish.
Wow, what a finale this is going to be, Gord. We are 3K out from the finish line, and we have a top group of riders. What's interesting is we have classic specialists. We have some decent climbers in Leipheimer, stage racers. We have a sprinter in Ciolek. We have an all-arounder like Wegmann. This is going to be an amazing finish. A perfect mix of riders here off the front.
Yeah, we got a great cross-section of riders. We got the pure sprinter in Ciolek. We got a Grand Tour guy in Levi. Classic specialist in Gilbert and Wegmann and Simon Clark. An ex-tracky.
Gilbert going. Gilbert is going, Gord. We have to expect it here. He felt a weakness in Yessink. Yessink kept giving the signal to pass. Gilbert said, you want me to pass? Well, here I go.
Loopmans is trying to hold on, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Can he go all the way? Oh, a big roar from the crowd. It's the gap. Is it a winnable gap now by Gilbert? Is it too early? We'll see.
Well, he erred on that side at the Worlds last year. However, he knows this course. We are near the end. Yessink coming back.
Oh, incredible ride.
Gritting the teeth here. What a finale. And as we saw a few seconds ago, the crowd at the finish line seeing that on the big screen, a tremendous roar. But now we saw the orange and blue of Yessink. What a battle. Yessink and Gilbert.
Gilbert might not mind if Haysink comes back because he can dust him in the sprint. So it's not too bad for Gilbert right now, but he's worried about Ciolek. He's worried about Clark. And it looks like the sprinters, looks like one climb too many.
Gilbert still going. Last little climb here. This is La Côte de la Fabrique. This is where Vauclair took off last year. And Gilbert said, well, I am going to try this too right here. Gritting the teeth. Yesink doesn't have anything left in the tank.
He hasn't thrown in the towel yet, the Heysink, and Oran in behind as well. It's like a pursuit here, one by one, but coming back to Gilbert, it might be just like, you know, a moot point, really.
La Flamme Rouge, we just saw it, Gord. The red flame, the red flag, 1 kilometer to go. Rigoberto Oran, an amazing performance by the Colombian for Sky today. Robert Yesing just does not have anything left, and he also knows that this is where that slight climb oh so slowly starts, and oh so much hurts in the legs.
He's still trying. He wants to get up. He wants to make a race of this. Gilbert's looking back. He looks pretty composed. Levi Leipheimer still in with a shot of the podium here for Radio Shack, but looking pretty hard to beat the big favorite Gilbert. Heysink is clawing his way back. Incredible ride.
Oh, I may have spoken too soon, Gord. Is Gilbert? Nah, Gilbert says, no, I'm having none of this. I'm going to keep you at bay, my friend. Yesink putting the head down, trying to situate Rigoberto Oran, maybe wanting some help. But what a finale of this second edition of the Grand Prix Cycliste de Quebec. The crowd is going bananas here as we hit Porte Saint-Louis. You can see in the distance the finish line, Gord. He has taken it to the end. Philippe Gilbert, 300 meters. Yesink trying, giving it all he has. A last-ditch effort. Gilbert looking back. The crowd is going berserk here in Quebec City. They wanted this man to win. This will mean #1 on the overall World Tour standing for the Belgian champion. He wanted this one. It's going to be a race to the line. But this race belongs to Philippe Gilbert. Robert Yesing coming in second. And what a race by Rigoberto Oran from Team Sky here today. Fabian Wegman also a good ride for Leopold Trek and Levi Leipheimer rounding up top 5, Gord. But Philippe Gilbert proving it once again. He is the best classics and probably overall rider in the world right now.
You know, what can you say about this guy? He can do everything, but certainly this course was tailor-made for him. He didn't disappoint. He took the race in his hands. He dared everyone to challenge him, and he just stomped everybody in the end. Incredible ride, and a great job by Heysink to try to limit and make a race of it. Great job by him.
Oh yeah, Yesink never gave up. However, you could see as they came about to La Côte de la Fabrique where Vauclair attacked last year, you could just see that he was giving up. Here comes Ryder Hesjedal with the Canadian flag ribbon. Oh, this is Michael Berry.
Getting a nice place of honor here after all the work he did for his team leader. In this case, it was Rigoberto Oran. You know, Boston Hagen not having the legs today that he did last year. But Michael Berry's representing Canada very well here with maybe a top 15 finish.
Yeah, Michael Berry deserving cheers from the crowd as they know the veteran will be crossing the line after all that hard work for his teammates, and especially a surprise finish for him. Great job, and now we see now slowly coming over the line, disappointed but still appreciating the crowd's applause, is Ryder Hesjedal. Tough race for him today, Gordon.
You got to give marks for effort. I mean, Garmin Cervelo, they took the race into their hands to try to deliver Ryder the best they could. If they just come up short, but as a director, you got to be proud of their effort. But Gilbert, hands in the air, Belgian national champion, world #1.
Yeah, and in front of mom, dad, and the little sister all here today. They made the trip over here. So we'll go join Philippe Gilbert for his post-race comments. Very happy young man as he is now taking a turn at the top of the leaderboard of the World Tour overall standing. Philippe Gilbert, man, as we see the aerial shot, it was a lot farther than it looked, Gord, from the cameras off the front. Gilbert had a definite lead as they came up here, but once again, as you mentioned, Yesink not giving up.
Yeah, great job by Heysink. He really tried to bridge back up to the Belgian champ, but Gilbert, I mean, you gotta give it to the guy. He was looking back, assessing what he needed to do, very similar to Vauclair last year, and you know he enjoyed that hands in the air, that victory salute. world #1. He came, he saw, and he got it.
So there we are, the overall world standings after this Grand Prix Cycliste de Quebec. So Philippe Gilbert, 648 points. Cadel Evans now falls to second with 574. Alberto Contador, 471. Those guys garnering a lot of those points from the Grand Tour. Scarponi, Rodriguez, Sanchez, Schleck, Frank, Edvald Boassenhagen, Andy Schleck, and Cancellara rounding off the top 10. And a very bad day on the road for Edvald Boassenhagen. Not in the game here today was Rigoberto Urán up there for Team Sky. So listen in for a few seconds here on the podium, and definitely have some comments for you as our top 3 of the day. Rigoberto Urán, Philippe Gilbert, and he'll be squeaking right by the tall Rabobank rider, Robert Yessinga, telling Urán, who's probably not used to the podium. Excuse me, sir, this is my podium step.
À celui qui a réussi à aller chercher la 3e place, représentant l'équipe Sky Pro Cycling, Rigoberto Urán.
Beautiful performance by Urán today, Colombian rider. Interesting story this guy has, come from a very rough and violent neighborhood. He's found salvation in cycling and has become one of the best riders in the world.
Colombia, a cycling mad nation. They'll be proud of his efforts today.
Definitely.
Good, nice trophy for 3rd place.
They're always heavy after such a long day of racing.
These poor guys aren't known for their upper body strength.
Grand Prix Cycliste de Québec, représentant l'équipe Rabobank, Robert Yessinga.
Yessinga, we'll see if he is able to repeat his exploit of last year in Montreal in 2 days' time. He left a lot on the roads of old Quebec today, Gord.
You know, he's probably disappointed in second, but how can you be disappointed against second to Gilbert on his terrain? I think that was a great race by Yessinga. Again, 3rd place last year, 2nd place this year. I think he's got nothing to be ashamed of. He should be super proud of that effort, and you know, hopefully he can use that as motivation and get a little revenge in Montreal. Maybe he ran too in Montreal. Looks good for him as well.
And this will be a crowd pleaser here today, and Philippe Gilbert knows it.
Omega Pharma Lotto, Philippe Gilbert.
There he is, #1 in the world, Gord. And the Quebecers just loving it here today as the Belgian cousin has made it to the top spot here on the podium. And Minister Denis Lebel, in charge of infrastructure here, the federal government. A very avid cyclist himself. He was telling me, unfortunately, he only has a few thousand kilometers in his legs this year. And well, the always colorful and very, very passionate Monsieur Régis Lebaume, His Worship, Mayor of Quebec, presenting our winner with the trophy here today.
I think he's got to be proud of his city's turnout for this Grand Prix Cycliste de Quebec. Thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of spectators from all over North America and even the world now. Great tourist attraction, this race.